Gianpiero Lotito, who is CEO of FacilityLive. For those who are not aware of your company, basically it's a search engine, use machine learning. So you are in the business of data. What do you make of the allegations that have surfaced around data harvesting, and how does it change the industry that you're now working in?
There is a big problem now, that is the imbalance between US, Asian and European companies. Because can you imagine one company, one media company that give news for all the world, or in one newspaper written by readers that give news for all the world, and is only one? It's not possible. So the problem now is how to raise European giants that can compete with equilibrium with the US and Asian company. This is the challenge of the next 5 to 10 years, to have a better situation in data management.
The European regulator has signalled enormous concern already about data and how it is used. I've spoken to him many times about the subject. Quite different to the States, in particular, where there's a light touch approach to regulation currently unfolding. So how do you see the regulation playing out in Europe specifically on the issue of data? Do you think there are going to be very hard rules about how that information is sold and harvested, used for manufacturing purposes?
The main problem is that the digital industry was underestimated in the last 15 years because governments, policymakers thought that it was a vertical industry. But the impact of the digital industry in all the market, all the industries, the citizens, the policymakers is huge. So the problem was that the regulation started later than was important to do. So now we are running to have a better regulation in tax, in data privacy and many other things, and probably we will have a better situation in 2-3 years when all the countries will have an agreement on how to regulate all these things.
We've had the heyday then, haven't we? Because we've had no effective legislation on privacy. We've had no effective legislation on how to tax in Europe 21st century companies using 20th century taxation measures as well. So the heyday's come and gone for these companies, hasn't it?
Is a big challenge for companies to compete in Europe in this moment, in this era, because you have different regulation between competitors. So this problem of imbalancing is huge to rise European companies. But in this moment there is the awareness that the problem must be solved. So in the next year I am sure, as European, as entrepreneur, that we will have a different situation. If you want, the problem is how and when, but it is not a doubt that we will have these new regulations.
But you're saying there's no doubt, but I mean there's a big doubt in my mind. As you say, it's dominated by the Americans, and then the Asians have their own thing. So how can Europe do it? Are we going to see smaller companies such as your own managing to merge with others to somehow create a European giant? Is that really going to happen, or does there have to be state intervention?
Europe is the richest digital market of the future. So with a fair competition, with a different behavior from European institutions and government, because we must not forget that in US the rise of many giants was possible because the US government was supporting them. So if the same behavior will be done in Europe and in a single government in the next 5 to 10 years, there is room to have 4 or 5 European giants that will make the traction for all the market, as in the 80s Apple, Microsoft and other companies did for for the Silicon Valley market.
Can I ask you a very specific question about Italy? You're based in Pavia.
Yes.
Do you worry that if we have a government formed of 2 extreme parties, that business will be the biggest casualty? Because these are anti-establishment, anti-immigrant parties. Business, it seems to me, is not going to benefit from that coalition.
Let me tell an answer as Italian. They are not anti-Italian. So I don't think that they will act against the country, against the people, because we are after a big crisis and we need to be compact. The first action that they did in Parliament in the last 2 days tell that when you are on that seats, your behavior change a little bit. I am
right.
optimist.
Oh, well,
innovators need to be optimistic.
And I think that's very important in European politics at the moment. Gianpiero, nice to see you. Thanks very much for joining us. The CEO of FacilityLive.